Welcome back to the Metronome Madness League. The EV Hearts are facing off against the Heavily Heatrans in the last match of round number 12. Rookity on the field for the Heatrans, while Cricketot's on the field for the EV Hearts. Rookity starting with a Moon Blast. That does a decent amount of damage. Cricketot looking to return the favor. Goes for a Nuzzle. Super effective. Doesn't do a lot of damage though, but of course paralyzes the Rookity. Rookity is paralyzed. It will eat its Key Berry, which will raise his defenses up. Does keep that paralysis though, as Cricketot goes first, and this time he goes for a Roost. So Cricketot healing itself. Rookity breaks through the paralysis and goes for a Present. It's not a good one as it damages Cricketot again. There goes Cricketot now with a Zen Headbutt. That barely does any damage. Cricketot just can't land a good hit. As Rookity goes for Hypnosis, that's going to put Cricketot to sleep. So it's going to be sleep for a few turns here. As Rookity now goes on the offensive again. This time it goes for a Bullet Seed. Of course, that's not very effective, but hits multiple times. And it hits twice, as Cricketot is still above the yellow and it has Shed Skin, so it does wake up. So it will go ahead and attack here with an Aerial Ace. Rookity is still above half itself as well. But this turn it is paralyzed, so Cricketot gets to attack again. This time the Cricketot goes for a Soak, turning Rookity into a Water type. So possibly can be hit with a Grass or Electric move to be super effective. As Rookity goes for an Entrainment, giving Unnerve to the Cricketot. It would have been nice to do that before you put it to sleep. That way the Shed Skin would not take effect. Unfortunately, that's not what it did, as Cricketot now goes for a Dive, which will be not very effective now because Rookity does or is a Water type. And there goes the Wonder Room. So defense and special defense is going to be swapped. The Dive is not very effective, and Rookity is in the yellow though, and still paralyzed. Here comes Cricketot again, this time going for a Psychic. That does a decent amount of damage, and Rookity's in the red. Here we go with a Swagger from the Rookity. That, of course, going to raise Cricketot's attack stat and confuse it. If it hits itself in confusion, it can do a lot of damage. Here comes the Cricketot now. It will break through the confusion this time and goes for a Confide. Confide, lowering Rookity's special attack. As Rookity goes again, this time with a Night Slash. That puts Cricketot in yellow. Confused still. Cricketot will go for its Metronome. This time it uses a Brutal Swing, and that's enough to knock out the Rookity. So the first matchup of this battle has been completed, with Cricketot coming out on top. But the Heatrans will go for their Politoed now, which of course has Drizzle, putting up the rain. Here comes Politoed with a Triple Axle, and that's enough to knock out the Cricketot, who did not have that much health left. So Tropius is on the field for the EV Hearts. Both these teams are 4-7. They both have a losing record. As Politoed goes for a Super Fang, excellent move. So Tropius is already at half its health. Goes for the Terra Blast, which really does not do a lot of damage. And Politoed going for the Pound. It was a crit. Tropius taking a bit of damage there. And it goes for a Steel Roller. That's going to fail. Politoed once again, this time going for the Slam, putting Tropius in the red. Tropius going for the Acid Spray. Acid Spray, barely does any damage at all. Tropius is dropping the ball for the EV Hearts. The Cricketot put in a lot of work. The Rock Blast happens and Tropius faints. And so now they're left with their Dupiter. So Tropius did not put up a fight at all in that matchup, leaving Dupiter to face off against the Politoed. Not looking too good for it, as it terrestrializes now into a normal type. And Politoed, of course, gonna go here. Politoed going with a Force Palm, which is super effective. Dupiter now is a normal type. And it goes for Charge. So raises its special defense there. Politoed once again. This time it goes for a Future Sight. That attack will come in the future, which is not good for Dupiter because there's still another Pokemon it has to fight if it can get past Politoed. And there goes the Stone Edge, doing a little bit of damage. Moonblast from the Polytope. Dupiter on 13 HP. Dupiter going again, this time with the Heat Wave, which is resistant, getting Polytoad into yellow. You have to admit that it is doing all it can. There goes the guard swap, putting in a lot more work than Tropius did, I would say. Here comes the Dupiter now with Dragon Darts. Landing those hits again. It was a crit on the second one. Polytoad pretty close to the red, but there goes the Future Sight, and Dupiter will faint. EV Heart's going to be 4 and 8. While the Heatrans are 5 and 7 on the season, they're towards the bottom of the standings here as we get close to the end of the season. If you like that battle, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more of the Metronome Madness League, and I will see you in the next one.